On agenda today, the landmark judgment by a CBI court to convict a secretary-level officer, H.C. Gupta. Two other officers, including a joint secretary, they've been sentenced to 2 years in jail. They've got bail, which means they don't have to go to jail immediately. But the case has sent shockwaves in the system. Many are asking, can you convict someone of corruption just because of a wrong decision they took? Or that they failed to do all the checks and balances which resulted in a loss to the taxpayer? We'll be getting both sides of the argument in just a bit. It's a case that many are saying will have an impact on how government works. But first, it's not just the IAS officers who are standing up for H.C. Gupta, but also ministers. Here's why Nitin Gadkari says he's supporting him.
अगर ईमानदारी से काम करने वाले अधिकारी होंगे, चाहे बैंक के चेयरमैन होंगे या कोई सरकार में भी होंगे, अगर वहाँ भ्रष्टाचार नहीं है, केवल टेक्निकल ग्राउंड पर अगर उनको सजाएं मिलेगी तो इस देश में उनका मोरल डाउन होगा तो निर्णय नहीं हो पाएंगे। देश के हित में नहीं है, लोकतंत्र के हित में नहीं है। मैं ये मानता हूँ कि मिस्टेक्स अगर बोनाफाइड है तो फॉरगिव एंड फॉरगेट, मिस्टेक्स अगर मैलाफाइड है तो उसको छोड़ो मत। करप्शन किया है, जानबूझकर कोई गलत काम किया है तो कठोर कार्रवाई करें। तो मुझे लगता है टेक्निकल आधार पर अगर इंटेंशन अच्छा हो और बार किसी ने कोई छोटा निर्णय अगर गलत हुआ है तो उसको सज़ा देना, इससे काफ़ी सिस्टम डिमोरलाइज होगी और डिमोरलाइज सिस्टम देश के विकास के निर्णय नहीं कर पाएगी, इसमें देश का नुकसान होगा।
So the court of Bharat Parashar was very clear. They felt there was collusion. They felt that's why he's been convicted under the Prevention of Corruption Act for causing this loss to the taxpayer and for misuse of position. But everybody else, including the IAS, is saying no. You can't assume that. There are certain things that the court expected which isn't possible, they say, for officers to do. Everybody, of course, the other side, the activists and others who've been pursuing this case, they don't seem to agree on that. The sentencing which happens today brings this key issue. If an officer signs on a file, is he then responsible for everything that the file contains? So, H.C. Gupta and officers have been convicted because they failed to alert the system that the applications by the allottees, the company that it was given to, were incomplete and incorrect. That's the reason that why they've been convicted. So, joining us we have Mr. Bhoos Reddy, who represents the IAS Association. He'll be talking to us about why they have come out, they're speaking up against it. Remember, a lot of other IAS officers who are still in government, they're all, Amitabh Kant and others, they've all spoken up in support of H.C. Gupta. But taking the other side, Pranav Sachdev, a lawyer who has worked in the cold cases, and Shailaja Chandra, giving us a perspective of an officer looking at somebody who attends lots of meetings, who clears a lot of files. Is it possible to be responsible for each and every decision that takes place? But first up, is he being held accountable or is he being made a scapegoat? Why is it, Mr. Bhoos Reddy, that the IAS Association believes that he's being made a scapegoat?
Look, we have been saying this from last many years, especially when all these cases have come up, that the legal framework with respect to which handles such cases has to be in proper perspective. The present statute book, the Prevention of Corruption Act, especially section 13(1)(d), which is pre-liberalization, has certain presumptions built into it. So, the courts would go by the statute book as it is till it is amended. Now, the presumption is post-liberalization in all these big ticket projects or any project for that matter, even a tender of 5 lakh or 5 crore or a project of that order, if an officer approves certain things based on the papers submitted and field reports before the officer concerned, maybe the secretary at the state level or the secretary at the Government of India level, the presumption is that if you are passing an order in favor of somebody or a license, definitely post liberalization, when you are expecting private investment to come, the private investor is applying for benefits. So, that benefit would be there. Even if there is no quid pro quo as per the present law, the presumption is that you have done something wrong because it has benefited the private.
Yeah, that's exactly what the court said.
That's what. Now, here in this case also, the court is not, though some media houses have reported that grafted. the court has nowhere charge sheeted. It has said that there is an element of conspiracy
Yes.
where the officers have not followed the guidelines. They are not saying that they have taken anything quid pro quo.
But the
or
court
they
is saying there is collusion. There seems to be collusion between the private company and the IAS officer,
And-
Mr. Gupta.
and- yeah.
What you're right in saying is that the court doesn't get into whether he got bribe money for it or not.
Yeah. So, court is also not charge sheeting, has not charge sheeted for the officers on these counts. What the court has said in its judgment is that they have not followed the guidelines as it is, and the screening committee chaired by the secretary has not been able to verify each and every fact which come from which was submitted by the field authorities or by the technical committees.
Right. Okay. So, the fact that you're saying is it isn't that much of a criminality, because what he failed to do was not go and verify all of those things. Why is it, Pranav, that you believe that the petitioners and the petitioners in this case, Prashant Bhushan and all the other lawyers, why do all of you believe that no, this conviction is right, that this is the way to do it, this is the way you fix accountability? How would you counter Mr. Bhus Reddy?
See, not on the specific facts of Mr. H.C. Gupta case, but generally on the coal scam and other 2G scam, you will see that the Prevention of Corruption Act makes it a corrupt practice to give pecuniary advantage to a private company by abusing your position or without any public interest. So, as a bureaucrat, you are supposed to act in public interest. You are not supposed to abuse your position. If you abuse your position and give benefits to a private company, then we don't need to show a video of you taking a bribe or some money trail, because that may not exist. That may exist in very rare cases. That's why Prevention of Corruption Act was very clear that bribery is a separate offence. That may not be the case in most of the cases. In most of the cases, like
if you
2G,
cause a loss, you are guilty.
supposing you are a bureaucrat and you have to give a procurement contract, and without any tender you just arbitrarily pick and choose and give it to a private company which belongs to your relative or with whom you want to favor. Will that not be corruption? That's why in these times when public policy is being subverted by the corporates,
Right.
and valuable natural resources worth lakhs of crores were given away, then it's not just the companies, the coal blocks have been cancelled,
Right.
but does it mean that the bureaucrats will not pay or the ministers will not pay? The public servants will also be made to pay.
Yeah. Okay. So, it's interesting. I'm going to come back to you because all the issues that have been raised by the bureaucrats over here, it's interesting to look at. I also want to ask you whether it is a new kind of case. Did we always see these kind of convictions take place of bureaucrats, or is this also a precedent that way? Shalila Chandra, I wanted you to comment on, as someone who has sat through a lot of these screening committees, because what a lot of the IAS officers are saying on this is, look, he went by what the state government said. Yes, they should have been bidding, but he went by the fact that the state government recommended that the allocation or the contract be given to a particular company. He went by that. His fault is that he didn't double check. But they are saying it's not possible to go through each and every application. Do you buy that, because you've been through this judgment as well? Or do you see there is a problem in the way H.C. Gupta or any secretary level who was the chairman of the screening committee giving up these allocations, there's a problem in the way he acted, even as an IAS officer?
Look, I'll be quite dispassionate in what I have to say. From the judgment, which I had about an hour and a half to read a 350-page judgment, I may make a mistake, so please forgive me. But I did get the impression that there is an assumption in the judgment that there has been collusion, corruption and conspiracy. This is not made out at all. The way screening committees work, you usually, and there I would fault Mr. Gupta, I would have to be frank about it, you set up processes and systems which work. You don't do it yourself. If you knew 1400 cases had come and there were 1400 applications from people who are going to be benefited one way or the other, they're going to complain if they don't get something, you should have had the guidance, I mean, you might say a subcommittee of experts who would give a technical assessment. Like you do procurement, you have a technical bid,
So
a whole
even
lot
if you
of.
can't do it yourself,
You
have a
mustn't, you
system set up.
cannot do it
Right,
yourself, because
right.
this will be one case among hundreds that a secretary deals with.
Right.
There's no way, if he starts combing the file, he can do a random check, but that's not good enough. So number one, no screening committee is expected to do anything other than go by what is reported to them. I would say that collusion would have been there if the director and the joint secretary and the secretary were playing ball together. That has not been brought out at all.
That's true.
If the state government gave a wrong recommendation, definitely the state government has to be held responsible. They were the people on the spot. They would have known that this particular company was claiming to have a turnover it did not have. It was making all kinds of claims in its annual, whatever it is, in its audited statements, which were incorrect. If that be so, it was primarily the job of the state government.
Right.
That did not happen. Number two, when it comes to this committee, had Mr. Gupta set up a group of accountants, chartered accountants, whatever you want, you can just recruit them and give them a job to be done. He could have seen that if there was anything amiss, it would have been pointed out. On the question of conspiracy, it is, I would say, very wrong to come to the conclusion that this is conspiracy, because conspiracy means that you all had a motive to do something together. The judge has not been able to bring that out at all. And I would just say that if this is taken as the gospel truth, that this is what bureaucrats are doing, this is what your senior IAS officers are doing, let me say this will have a terrible effect on governance. Instead of speed of doing business, you will find everybody looking for excuses not to do it. There will be more subcommittees and sub-subcommittees, and that is unfortunate. What has Gupta done? I would certainly say he should have been charged under the CCS conduct rules.
CCS, for our viewers, just
It's the classification, control and appeal rules. The disciplinary rules come under
so
that.
like an administrative thing instead of
He
a...
could have been removed from service. His pension can be stopped. All that can be done, but not a criminal case. He has done nothing criminal. And that is the distinction which is very important.